yourself a cold one.
Let's drink 'em, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of The College Draft.
Yeah, it is Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft Podcast presented by DraftKings. They're rolling on with the unbelievable NBA offers, and they even have awesome offers on other sports this week. I'll tell you about them later in the show or on other shows. I am Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Those of you that check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL can already see all the teams I played for because I got the helmets with the game balls, all that stuff behind me. I really appreciate those of you that follow us and follow me on social media at Ross Tucker NFL, whether it's Twitter or Instagram. I want to get my Facebook followers up or Facebook friends or whatever they're called. Facebook.com/Ross Tucker NFL if you're a Facebook person, because I've been posting to Facebook a lot more recently. Some of the non-football things, some of the food, some of the beers. People seem to really like it. I also you can check out at Ross Tucker Pod as well, which is where we post all of the shows, the highlight clips today. Really looking forward to having Adam Lefko from TNT and Bleacher Report on today's Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Going to compare the NBA to the NFL a little bit, which should be fun. The star of this show, though, is Emory Hunt. He is a rising star. Loved his tweets over the weekend talking about the first opportunity he got as a color commentator, making the most of it, how he's climbed through the ranks. It resonated with me. You should follow him on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Dude straight out spewing life lessons over the weekend. Football Game Plan on YouTube as well. And then, of course, footballgameplan.com/2021 draft guide. If you still want to get that and make sure you have all the info on all the guys you'll be watching in the preseason games this year, which will be here before you know it. Emory, I love the USFL shirt, man. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I had to represent a new football league potentially. Again, we've talked about XFL. The AAF was something for a brief stint, but the XFL really had a strong showing last spring or last winter. And then the USFL announced out of nowhere that they were going to come back. And we've seen the success of the spring league providing good content in the spring on TV for Fox. So why wouldn't the USFL have success? I'm just excited to get more football out there because there's definitely a market for it. And I think we need it for players, coaches, scouts, evaluators, analysts, wink, wink. We need all of these leagues, just more opportunities for everybody.
So here's what I said, I think last week, maybe the week before, I don't know. It's all running together at this point on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. At what point do all of these people that have this idea, right? Ebersol and Polian and Vince McMahon and whoever's running the USFL, and I guess The Rock owns the what's it called? The XFL now. At what point do these people all get together and say, you know what? If we all pool our resources, if we all put everything behind this one thing, we can really do, because then we have the capital, we have the exposure, we're all hands on deck. But it's like they want to do it on their own. It's like they refuse to. I just don't understand the logic of starting a new one every year that doesn't gain any traction, as opposed to getting together and really making this thing work.
You're making way too much sense on a Monday morning, Ross. One of my favorite pleasures has been to watch The Foods That Built America. And one episode they talked about Hershey and how they became, the brand. And it started with them, taking a look at all these other chocolatiers around the country, these small companies. It's like, wait a minute, you guys are not doing what I'm doing. We got better chocolate, but you guys already have the infrastructure of manufacturing in place. Let me buy you guys out. You still do what you do, but just continue to produce Hershey's chocolate. Then they became this big conglomerate. That's how you do it. You're exactly right. You already have a lot of these people that have an interest in the spring leagues, or a new football league, alternative football league, everyone has to check their ego at the door, realize there's power in numbers and there's sustainability in numbers. Understand that and create an alternate league together, as opposed to trying to be the king atop of the hill of only one hill, because that's why you see so many consistently fall down.
Yeah, I don't get, man. I really don't. Where'd you get the shirt?
Oh, from 502.com. I had this shirt for about 2 years now. I just felt like it was appropriate to bust it out,
Oh, all right. So you had that shirt before they came out and said they're coming back.
Yeah, 502 Sports is the website, 502sports.com. You can get, matter of fact, now that I remind myself, I got to get me a Houston Gamblers hoodie, because that was the coolest logo I ever saw. And they have all kind of, they have USFL, they have World League, they have all types of alternate league apparel that you can go find.
I love it. I also love our draft series. We only have 2 or 3 episodes left, going through every single draft choice in the 2021 NFL draft. Yes, that means your team as well, and all the teams in your team's division. This is, by the way, Emory, this is the kind of content that's amazing on YouTube, because you can go back, or audio, whatever, but either way, you can go back and listen to the whole series. Like, it's not outdated, right? I mean, you can listen to it. None of these guys got cut yet, so you can go back and listen to the AFC West. You can go listen to AFC South. So far, we did the entire AFC, and then we did NFC East last week, and now we're about to do NFC North. So we got 3 more weeks, but you can go back and watch or listen to any of these and hear what Emory has to say about your team's draft picks. We'll start today with the Chicago Bears. And I know we've talked about Justin Fields a lot, Emory, but just kind of your thoughts again on Fields as a prospect, because I thought it was interesting. I don't know if we talked about this, but I thought it was interesting when I had Matt Nagy on a few weeks ago on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, when he acknowledged, the picks and taking the sacks and some of the decisions against Indiana and against Northwestern, which I appreciated, because, look, I think he's a really good prospect. But the people that were acting like, I don't understand why he's falling or what, well, he had 2 bad games. And for some people, that's enough to say, okay, I'm not taking him. Obviously, it wasn't for Nagy. They trade up to get him. They love him, right?
Mm-hmm. And for me, it was like, okay, he had 2 bad games, in which they won, by the way. And also 2 bad games in a total of 20 games at Ohio State. So 18 out of 20 games, he was excellent. I'm taking those chances anyway, because for me, he had the one element that people always underestimate when they look at quarterbacks. I don't care about height, weight, speed. I don't care about arm strength, accuracy. How well do you play when the game is on the line? How well do you handle pressure situations? Can you sustain that success in situational football? That element, that's where Justin Fields is outstanding. So if you're outstanding there, all these other things you can coach around, right? You can coach around not having the strongest of arms. You can coach around not being the fastest quarterback. You can coach around a guy that may not be 6'5", 230. So you can't coach around scary. And if you don't have that fearlessness bone in your body, you're never going to be successful. You can be the most talented quarterback, but if that element of your game is not there, good luck trying to win games. We've seen guys be successful statistically, but just don't have the success as terms of a winner is concerned, right? So when you look at someone like Justin Fields, you're looking directly at a Deshaun Watson, you're looking at a Russell Wilson, you're looking at a Dak Prescott, you're looking at those guys that just are able to lock in, block out the noise, and focus on a task at hand and not get rattled by pressure. That is quarterbacking 101. That's the elite level quarterback play that you're trying to get from your player. And if you have that, like a Tom Brady has that ability to lock in, zero in, and focus on the task at hand. He had it at Michigan when he had to save the Wolverines countless times, coming back into the game after being benched or not starting in favor of Drew Henson. That is the quarterback that you want quarterbacking your team. Everything else is cosmetic. having that ability to lock in, hone in, and focus, that's what you want. And that, to me, is a winner. And the Bears got themselves one in Justin Fields.
All right, their next two picks, 2nd round and 5th round, but they're both O-linemen, Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State and Larry Borum from Missouri.
I had a 2nd round grade on Jenkins because I know people were saying that he was like a top 10 pick. I was like, he's good. And I think 2nd round is where I would feel comfortable taking him. He goes in the 2nd round. I had a higher grade on Borum out of Missouri because in my notes, I had one of my scouting notes for his strengths was like, this dude legitimately blocks out the sun. Like when he gets out there on the move, he swallows defensive linemen in the run game. So I just think that they did a good job of solidifying bookends at that position, and they were right where they probably should have gone. But for me, they got two good players.
In the 6th round, they got Khalil Herbert, the running back from Virginia Tech, Daz Newsome, the wide receiver from North Carolina, who's already broken his collarbone, by the way, and then Thomas Graham Jr., corner from Oregon.
Graham is a solid all-around football player, like him as a cornerback prospect at a position that they needed depth in tremendously. And I like what they're doing at running back. Herbert is a speed guy, explosive guy. They want to get more explosive in the backfield. They already have Tariq Cohen coming back healthy. He's an explosive talent. Undrafted free agent CJ Marable from Coastal Carolina, explosive talent. So you see the path that they're going down. Herbert can also be a day one core special teamer as a returnman, something that he excelled at Virginia Tech as well. And you look at Daz Newsome, once he gets back out there, he's another one of these dynamic, jittery guys that can, really make something happen after the catch. He's a slot receiver that can help them, just convert those first downs, but also gives you a little bit of pizzazz as a guy that could do things after the catch.
Let's get to what did you think of Graham?
I thought he was a good all-around player, and the back end of that draft with defensive picks, but the undrafted free agents in Kamara, Charles Snowden, Caleb Johnson out of Houston Baptist, they got some legitimate dudes on defense as an undrafted. And that has been a common theme for Chicago the last couple of years, because we've seen guys that go undrafted on defense make the team and make an impact. So I thought they did a great job in the 8th round of the draft as well.
So what do you think about Tonga, the D tackle from BYU?
Very good point of attack player. He does a good job winning versus double teams, which is a skill in and of itself. So you like the fact that they were trying to find someone young that they could bring along and help him, provide that depth up front, because they lost a key player up front, but they were able to get back, Eddie Goldman. He's coming back healthy, I believe. So they're going to have some good depth there, and I think Tonga is going to be the one that provides that for them.
Let's get to the Detroit Lions, Emory. Man, there was certainly a theme with their draft, especially Penei Sewell, Onwuzurike, Aleem McNeil. I mean, they went O-line, D-tackle. You don't see teams do that very often. And physical, stuff the run, control the line of scrimmage D-tackles.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think Detroit probably ordered, 15 copies of Football Game Plan Scouting Guide, because you look at what they got. They got one of my top 5 offensive linemen, obviously, in Penei Sewell. They got my number 1 nose tackle in Aleem McNeil, my number 2 defensive tackle in Onwuzurike out of Washington. And then you go in the 4th round. Barnes was I had a high grade on Barnes as an inside backer. So personally, they nailed the draft according to my scout reports. But that's the common theme, getting better at the point of attack. Because I don't know if you know this, Ross, or maybe you do because you played along the line of scrimmage. You still can win football games playing good defense and running the football. What do you think Detroit is going to do with the way they attack this draft? They're going to run the football, play stout defense, and win a bunch of games.
No doubt that was their thought process. You sort of talked about it in general. What do you have in particular on Sewell, on Onwuzurike, and McNeil?
Well, Sewell to me is someone that's physical, and you have to keep in mind the reason why he wasn't my number 1 tackle. He's like my number 5, I believe, but still had an 85 grade, which is a Pro Bowl type talent. is the fact that when you're watching his film, you got to remember he was 19 years old. So there's a gap of unknown there. We didn't see him as a 20-year-old, and now we're going to see him as a 20-year-old in the NFL. So you got to wait and see. But the raw talent from what you saw as a 19-year-old is definitely impressive. Alim McNeil is a guy that's tough to move off the spot. You talk about beating double teams. He can do that. He shows a little bit of quickness with his hands, so he can beat one-on-one blocks, kind of become that pressure player as a nose tackle. Onwuzurike has a quickness, the burst off the ball, the savvy of playing a 3-tech. I think he provides the quick pressure. And when you team him up with McNeil, now you have a great nose tackle, defensive tackle combination in your 4-man front. So I love that those 3 picks by Detroit.
Next up, in round 3, they took Melifonwu, the corner from Syracuse.
Long guy. Very surprised at his tape. When you see these tall cornerbacks, you know they're not going to be as fluid out of their transition, but that's not the case with Melifonwu. He's a guy that can, really flip his hips and get out that back pedal pretty quickly and drive on the football also from a dead standstill. So he's playing off. He can really drive on the ball. So you could even see him playing inside as a slot corner, a taller slot corner, or as an alley defender, as a safety sort of. So he does give you some position flexibility and versatility with what he can do on the back end. I thought that was a really good pick as well.
I really like round 4. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the receiver from USC. I just think he's tough and physical. I just think guys like that make it in the league. And then Derek Barnes, who you talked about earlier, the linebacker from Purdue.
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is someone that he has a pro game, like a pro feel to him. He's just savvy, smooth. He's maybe he's not flashy, doesn't have a dance or some type of signature move, but he's always open, kind of Tyler Boyd like. He's open, he's productive, he's consistent. And Barnes, I even put this in my notes, when you go back and watch their game versus Nebraska, I don't know if he was suspended for the first half, but he didn't play in the first half. But once he got out there in the second half, the first series of the second half was probably some of the best linebacking I've seen in quite some time. This dude was in on every play on that opening series. I've never seen a linebacker come out like gangbusters like that and make every play. So not only is this dude someone that can stack and shed like you like to see from the position, but he has good bursts. He's a good blitzer. He's arriving with explosiveness upon contact and always finds the football. So I'm a big Derek Barnes fan. I think he has a chance to start as a rookie.
Last but not least, Jamar Jefferson, running back from Oregon State, they got in the 7th round.
Big fan of him too, and we talked about him in our preseason show, how lucky Oregon State was to get a prospect like that coming out of high school, and he fits right in. He's kind of cut from the same mold that an Aaron Jones would be, or what they have now on the roster. And Jamal Williams, he's a one-cut downhill runner. He finds the cutback lane. He finds holes in tight confined spaces. You don't see him consistently take losses. So I just want to see how he's going to fit in his backfield that's stacked now with Williams and DeAndre Swift, who was my number 1 tailback last year. And you saw them flirting with Ty Gurley as well. So where does Jamar Jefferson fit in this crowded backfield? Because he's super talented.
Speaking of talented, I've got a lot of positive traits. I think I'm happy about that. One that is not, my hair. Because I started losing it very early. Thankfully, people gave me the heads up, my doctors, on the 2 FDA-approved medications, which means they work because the FDA approved them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have approved them. One is a topical solution on the top of your head that you rub it on. The other one's a pill I take every morning. Now I do it through Keeps. Why not? Keeps, I don't have to go to the doctor anymore to get a prescription. I don't have to go to the drugstore to pick it up. It's sent right to my house. At this point, you guys have been listening or watching for a long time. At this point, I've been a subscriber to Keeps and a customer for years. If you are ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/draft to receive your first month of treatment for free. Why would you not do that? Why would you not get it for a month, see how it goes? That's keeps.com/draft to get your first month free. Keeps.com/draft. I guarantee once you start, you're going to say, oh my gosh, I should have been doing this years ago. Keeps.com/draft. Speaking of draft, Emory, let us now get to the Green Bay Packers. Still a lot of drama going on with the Aaron Rodgers situation. We're getting play-by-play last week of Jordan Love at minicamp, which always makes me laugh. The first day, he's terrible. They need Aaron back. The second day, oh, my gosh, he's the man. He's playing great. Give me a break. Every year, Emory, just looking at it, every year the Packers have a lot of draft picks. It seems like they always have a lot. First two rounds, Eric Stokes, the Georgia corner, and Josh Myers, the Ohio State center.
Yeah, Stokes is a long corner, gives them some height and length at the position. They have a type, both at corner and at wide receiver, and they got their type at corner in Stokes, who has really good athleticism and the length to really disrupt, the timing of a route or also just cloudy up passing windows. Myers is my number one center in the class, so from my perspective, they got the best center. And I think he's someone that's going to find a role on the field as a starter in some capacity before it's all said and done. He's just too good to keep off the bench.
Round 3 and 4, wide receiver Amari Rodgers from Clemson and guard Royce Newman from Ole Miss.
With Rodgers, it gives them another Randall Cobb, someone that can be utilized in the wide receiver run game, someone that's going to have a field day working underneath both versus man and zone coverage. And he's a thick dude, so he's going to break a lot of tackles, give you some run after catch ability. Freeman, I think, was great value because he's someone that I had a really high grade on. People saw him this year as a tackle, but that was his first year playing tackle. He was really a guard. And he's going to go back inside at Ole Miss. When you go back and watch him as a guard, and his tackle film wasn't terrible. So when you combine the fact that now he has the ability to play tackle if you want, or dominate as a guard, they got great value, and they always invest in the offensive line. It's one of the things I love about what Green Bay does consistently.
Round 5, they had 2 picks. Tadaro Slayton, D tackle from Florida, and Shamar Jean Charles, the cornerback from Appalachian State.
Yeah, Jean Charles is someone that's just a feisty corner. They seem to produce those type guys. They had a guy a couple years ago, Clifton Duck, who was outstanding and built the same way. Shamar Jean Charles is someone that's cut from the same cloth, has good ball skills, good instincts, and can play inside as a slot corner. And you look at Slayton, you don't see nose tackles that's 6'5", 340 with quick feet and quick hands. Like he moves like a 3-tech in terms of what he does from a ball get off perspective, from a hand usage perspective and footwork. So you just want to see him play consistent, but man, it's you can just see the enticing tools from a big girthy guy that can move quick like that. He's going to be a problem up front.
I'm curious, just as I get to the rest of the line of the picks for the Packers, I didn't ask you this earlier, but you mentioned Swift was your number 1 running back last year?
Yeah, he was my number 1 overall tailback. And I gave him a 90 grade. When you watch someone that's able to string moves together like that and work his way downfield without losing speed and quickness, man, it's impressive. I said this, I could find a tweet too. I said this, I want to say maybe 3 years ago, like when he was 3rd string behind Sony Michel, Nick Chubb. I was like, man, this dude Swift can play in the NFL right now. When you talk about vision, footwork, elusiveness, and burst, he has it all. And I can't wait to see him as a lead dog in that Lions backfield.
Last 3 picks for the Packers. Cole Van Lanen, a guard from Wisconsin, Isaiah McDuffie, linebacker from BC, and Kylan Hill, running back from Mississippi State.
These were all good picks. I had solid grades on all of these guys. Van Lanen is someone you can't go, again, we talk about this every show, sight unseen. Wisconsin or, lineman. Yeah, I'm draft him. I don't care how he looks, how he plays. You said Wisconsin offensive lineman, I'm in. And I think when you watch him play, you see him obviously dominating the run game. But I thought he's someone that you can't just walk back into the pocket in pass pro. So he's like a anchor up front. So again, providing good depth along that offensive line. Colin Hill, someone that improved this year briefly in his stint with this new staff at Mississippi State. They showed him more so as a receiver, which is something that everybody wanted to see. But as a runner, he's a one-cut downhill guy, doesn't waste time dancing in the backfield, and is a focused individual. I love the mentality that he plays with. He has good leadership skills. We saw that on display this year down in Mississippi, getting them to, spearheading that effort to change the flag, the state flag, got that job done. How could you not want someone like that on your football team? And Isaiah McDuffie is quick, speedy in all directions, kind of fits today's mold of what you look for as an inside linebacker and someone that you don't have to take on the field. I thought he was very underrated at BC, and I'm glad to see him get his just due by getting drafted. Not a lot of people was talking about him pre-draft amongst the draft community, but Isaiah McDuffie can really play. I think he's going to see a significant role. If not within that defense early on, he's going to be a core special teamer, and you will talk about him being a significant contributor defensively as the season goes on.
Let's get to the Minnesota Vikings to wrap things up here in our NFC North preview. First round pick, Christian Darrisaw. I got to tell you right now, Emory, I am not loving the latest report that he wasn't practicing. They said scar tissue from a January core muscle surgery. I had that surgery. You shouldn't still be having issues with that in June if you had it in January. Something doesn't smell quite right to me there.
Yeah, I hope health gets straightened out, because he was my number one offensive tackle. He looks the part, those thin ankles, athletic build, bulky guy, but can move kind of like how Trent Williams is built. These club bouncer type offensive linemen. And you saw him play last year, played hurt last year, but still was able to put together some really good tape. So I hope he can get healthy and stay healthy, because he's a plug and play guy up front.
Round 3, they had 4 picks in the third round. Kellen Mond, Chaz Surratt, Wyatt Davis, Patrick Jones. I should probably should have done this earlier in the show. Kellen Mond, quarterback for Texas A&M. Chaz Surratt, linebacker, North Carolina. Wyatt Davis, guard, Ohio State. Patrick Jones, edge from Pitt.
Mond to me was intriguing because Kirk Cousins is 51-3 as a starting quarterback. We talked about that earlier, how you can be successful but still have that missing ingredient. It's like having fast food pizza. It's still pizza, but it's not better than pizza you'll get from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. So there's just something missing when you're having that pizza from a fast food restaurant. Although there's levels to fast food restaurant pizza, we'll get into that probably some other show. But that's what Kirk Cousins is. He's someone that the stats look great, but for some reason his teams are never in the playoffs. They're either in and have a quick exit, or there's just something about those empty calories, the iceberg lettuce of quarterback play when you're watching Kirk Cousins. Great dude, can put up stats, has good short area accuracy, but there's something missing. And Kellen Mond gives them at least someone that can be a bridge to another guy, or someone that they can trust in their system to help push the ball downfield vertically more consistently, to be a guy that has played in a lot of big games at A&M. So excited to see how he progresses, but at least puts a little bit of warmth under the seat of Kirk Cousins. Now, all those other picks, Surratt, excellent backer, can play inside or outside, can match up versus backs and tight ends. Former quarterback that now plays linebacker. You like the smarts there. You talk about Patrick Jones out of Pitt. He was paired up with his teammate, Rashad Weaver, at Pitt. They had 2 good bookends, and the Vikings needed someone up front that can, one, get to the quarterback, but also help stabilize that defensive line. Patrick Jones gives them that. You look at the other guy Wyatt Davis, who comes from our favorite football movie of all time, The Program. His dad, Elvin Mack, the best inside linebacker prospect in fictional movie history. Wyatt Davis, I thought he had a down year last year. Probably he had dealt with a lot of injuries. But his 2019 film, it was stellar, and he does give them a good prospect up front that can probably come in and start at some point in the season. But when you add Darrisaw and Davis, you hope the health prevails for both guys, and they can be consistent. They can reach that level because they are really 2 good offensive linemen.
Then we get to round 4. Kene Ngwango, the running back from Iowa State. Cameron Bynum, a corner from Cal. And Janarius Robinson, edge rusher from Florida State.
Bynum was my favorite prospect they drafted in the 4th round because he has top-tier cover skills. You talk about someone that can match up one-on-one, take the ball away, has great ball awareness, so he's playing the ball well in coverage. Everything that you want in a corner, athletic, and someone that's probably going to end up starting for Minnesota, considering what happened this offseason at that position. At least someone that's going to play significantly because they did bring in Patrick Peterson. But I do like Bynum. I think that was a steal in the 4th round. You look at Robinson out of Florida State, has the physical tools, just wasn't able to put it together consistently. So we'll see if the coaching change for him going from college to pro will help him realize that potential. You look at the other guy you mentioned, Ngakoue, from Iowa State. This is an example of someone drafting for special teams. He was a core special teamer at Iowa State, one of the best kickoff returners in the country. I envision him being that same player for the Vikings. People talked about him as if he was going to take some carries away from, Madison or their depth in the backfield. No, he was signed specifically to help, ease the loss of what they had in Kadaro Patterson a couple years ago. They still are trying to find someone that could be that returnman. Well, they got one right there in the 4th round out of Iowa State.
5th round, they took Ihmir Smith
Marset,
the wide receiver from Iowa, and then they took the punter tight end, my favorite dude in the draft from Central Missouri.
Yeah, Zach Davison. We talked about him on the show when it was me, you, and Dane, and how this guy out of Central Missouri was someone people need to start talking about, and he ends up getting drafted. Athletic, can stretch the field, and if you need someone that can, get you about 44 yards on a punt, he can do that too. So definitely can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He's not Mitch Berger, but he's good enough to where he can help you out in the pinch if you need someone to punt the football. And Smith Marset is a core special teamer with really good speed. And I think, again, strengthening the special teams unit is an underrated aspect of the draft process. And I'm glad the Vikings took that seriously in this draft by getting 2 guys that can help them out day one as core special teamers.
Last NFC North draft pick, another Pitt D lineman. This one, Jalen Twyman.
He had so much buzz coming into the season, and it kind of tapered off because he opted out. And then when you dove into the tape, you kind of, put the microscope on his game a little bit more so. And so that's why he fell. He didn't test well, and, he wasn't the dynamic player that people thought, but he's productive. He finds a way to the quarterback, and that, to me, is worth his weight in gold, especially in what people like to consider a passing league. Twyman will find a way in rotation to be productive, especially going to a team like Minnesota where Mike Zimmer loves defense. He that's his calling card. And you think about what he picked up, guys that had traits. You talk about Jones and also Robinson, but guys that were productive, Jones and Twyman. So now they're trying to rebuild the depth along that defensive line. They got some guys that they can, throw in to the mix as rookies and try to expect those guys to be frontline starters in a year or 2.
NFC South next week. It should be awesome. Cannot wait to break down all those draft choices, including Emory's own New Orleans Saints. Make sure you check him out on Twitter at FBall Game Plan, Football Game Plan on YouTube. We are at Ross Tucker NFL, at Ross Tucker Pod, everywhere. Really appreciate those of you that spread the word in any way. From those of you listening to the Ross Tucker Podcast, you can win a little something if you do so. Other than that, the keg is kicked. We are all tapped out.
Thanks for listening to the College Draft Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, Even Money, and The Business of Sports. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.
A lot of times on the show, I mentioned DraftKings. Here's what you need to know. You got to be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. By the way, if what I was talking about included a deposit bonus, doesn't always, sometimes it does. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough, and deposit bonuses are paid out in site credit.